Hi, Ghosties. I'm Macy.
And I'm Natalie.
And this is Listener Stories number 49.
Woo, woo, woo. Almost 50.
Yes, in the last Listener Stories of June.
This is halfway through the year.
We are.
That is unsettling to me.
Honestly, me too. It doesn't feel right.
Oh, I would be 26. I don't know why, but 26 to me feels intimidating. It feels too serious. 25 is oh, you're becoming, finally you're an adult. People will take you a little serious, but 26 is you're creeping up on 30.
That's how I feel about 30. But I'm kind of excited for 30.
I am too. I was talking to someone the other day and she was like, honestly, I've heard that life doesn't really start for you until you're 30. And I was like, that is a good point. Because I feel like in your 20s, you don't know. You're figuring out everything.
Yeah, I was reading Reddit the other day and someone was like, change jobs in my 30s and I'm really scared or something like that. And they're like, in your 30s, that's the perfect time. You're doing great.
Yeah.
That makes me feel good because when I was 22, I was freaking out thinking any decision I make is for the rest of my life.
Dude.
And really, it wasn't.
It was not.
So if this is any, makes you feel good at all, you're doing fine. We're all doing fine. Change your life if you need to. Doesn't matter how old you are.
I literally had this conversation with Ryan today because he's letting every little thing get to him, in which
Understandable.
I am known for doing that.
Yes.
If one hair is out of place when I'm having a bad day, I'm like, well, I'll just shave my head. Just get rid of it. I freak out. So I was telling him, I was like, all of these problems you have right now and you're stressed out, in 2 years, you're going to look back and be like, wow, that was so stupid for me to feel so strongly and so freaked out.
Yeah.
Granted, these are not life or death situations, so don't take it that. If you're actually dealing with something hard, that's different. But he's just worried about job stuff. And I'm like, it's a job. Yes, you need it to survive, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But eventually, you'll be doing something you love. And that was me literally 9 months ago. I hated my job. I hated my life. I was like, this is forever. I'm going to feel like a failure forever. I'm going to hate my job forever. Life just sucks. And that's just going to be how it is. And then out of nowhere,
you found your place.
Everything completely switched. And I look back now and I'm like, wow, I spent so much of that little dark time being so upset and negative and I was like, I could have just been happy and known that this is not forever.
I agree.
It's easier looking back now because in the moment I'm like, this is the worst and I hate my life.
I wish I would have enjoyed some of the moments I was in a little more.
Yeah, me too.
So let's enjoy the moment right now. Let's get into some stories.
Oh no, I was trying to enjoy the moment. I didn't want to be scared, but
our tea today is Republic of Tea and Blackberry Sage.
It's a repeat, and I believe it was a good one. So
yes,
let's go.
Very blackberry, very tasty. That was the last one we have because we only had a little sample. tin.
Yeah, it's good though. It's a solid one.
I'd buy it again. Our first story is from Joy. Hi guys, I'm Joy and I've been watching your podcast on YouTube for some time now. I have 2 stories of my own, but I will be sharing one today. I was 10 or 11 when this happened and no one in my family believes me. I spent most of my life traveling between the US and Mexico at that time. The house we have in Mexico is huge and old. To describe the house, it looks like an open corridor with bricks and each door leads to a different part of the home. The home is on the main road that leads in and out of the small town we are from. At this time, I would sleep with my grandma as I was too scared to sleep on my own in another room and had been sleeping in the same bed as her for most of my life. On this night, I had to go to the bathroom, and I didn't think much of it since it was normal for me. I enjoyed getting up during nighttime there. Since you could see all the stars in the sky and hear crickets, it was peaceful. It was always peaceful. When I woke up, I sat straight up. Where I slept, I faced the door, and next to it was a TV. I remember vividly seeing a woman in a white dress with a veil covering her face in front of the door. She didn't do anything, just stood there watching us like a statue. I sat there terrified, and when I finally had the courage, I laid back down and stayed awake the rest of the night. The next morning, I told my grandparents what happened, and they told me it was all in my head. But I went on a walk with my grandpa later that day who told me that he had heard someone walking around in the attic in high heels for a very long time. I have never seen her again, and I never get up to go to the bathroom at night anymore.
Do you think that the grandpa was just not trying to freak out the grandma? And it's like, oh, silly you. But then he was like, hey,
I got you alone. Actually, there's some weird stuff going on.
Yes, but let's not talk about it.
I don't know. That's creepy though.
Would you like if Jake didn't tell you if something was creepy something creepy was going on?
I don't know. That's a tough question because on one hand, yes, don't scare me and ignorance is bliss. But on the other hand, like if I found out later and he didn't tell me, I'd be like, how dare you?
So if later on, like 20 years down the line, he was like, you found out, oh, our house that we used to live in was haunted, you'd be upset? Or would you be like,
well, not 20 years, but like if something crazy happened to me and I'm like, Jake, you'll never believe. And he was like, oh yeah, that's been happening for years. Then I'd be like, whoa. But like if we're already moved on and out, I'd be like, wow, that's insane. And then just move on. You know what I mean?
I think I agree. But I'm too nosy to believe ignorance is bliss. I'd rather know the painful, horrible thing than not know. If I know the option of the painful, horrible thing is out there, then like, yeah, I'm like, maybe I want to know. Me. But you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
So you'd rather not know.
Especially if it's going to be terrifying.
Yeah.
Like a ghostly woman wearing a white dress and veil, standing, hovering at the doorway, staring at me while I sleep. Our next story comes from Andrea. Hi, Macy. I would say Natalie, but we all know she isn't going to read this.
Hello.
Since I've listened to every pod episode now, I figured I should write in my own story. I have 2 for now. When I was about 5, my mom and I were asleep in our bedroom, while her best friend watched TV in the back bedroom that was next to the bathroom. I got up to use the bathroom, and the door would not budge. My mom's friend got up to help and could not get the door to open. We thought maybe my uncle was in there, and she just didn't notice him walk down the hallway from his room. We wait a few seconds before hearing the toilet flush and the sink turn on and off. Thinking the door would open, we were confused when it didn't. My mom gets up at this point and we tell her what happened, and she tries the door. It opens with ease, and there is no one in the bathroom. Safe to say, I made her stay with me, and I was terrified of the bathroom the entire time we lived in that house. Mom's friend heard it too, and both were trying to get the door open. Like,
also, I was gonna say,
someone has to be in there.
If someone was in there, they'd be like, occupied or 1 second.
Unless you're me and it's in public and you're like, stay as silent as possible, and eventually they'll get the hint.
That's the thing. It's not in public. I have never known what to say, so I was just like, I'm in here. It's like, that's so weird to say, but yeah, I can't. If you're in your house, someone's going to say, hold on, 1 sec. Yeah, so not enough for me. I would run.
Yeah.
Like, stop playing with me right now. If they didn't respond,
you're out of
there.
Mm-hmm. Ugh. Why did it open for the mom? Was it just toying with Andrea and mom's best friend?
Or it's just someone that passed on really loved to go to the bathroom, and so they were just, stuck in that loop of using the restroom.
So is it a not an intelligent haunting? What's the word I'm looking for? Residual haunting then?
Maybe. I don't know.
Story number 2. When I was 12, my family moved into my Nana and Grandpa's house a couple of years after he had passed. So many crazy things happened while we were there, from my 2-year-old brother having full conversations with my grandpa, who he had never met since he wasn't even born yet at the time of his passing, to my TV turning itself on to static at 3 a.m. every day like clockwork, to hearing someone running up and down the stairs that led to mine and my sister's room constantly. The craziest thing that happened, though, was that I started having premonitions in my dreams that the house was going to catch on fire. I felt it in my soul, and I felt so strongly about it that I had a fire emergency bag packed with everything important to me, and even planned an escape route with my sister since our rooms were the only 2 upstairs. We ended up moving out of the house about 2 months after these dreams started because my Nana decided it was time to sell the house, and not even a week later, the house burned to the ground due to electrical issues. To this day, I think my grandpa was warning me and doing his best to protect us from the other side.
That's so sweet. That's like that one story we had where they were like, change the grease trap. And it was like, boom. Yeah. So it's like, you're still being taken care of and looked after.
That is so wild. That's such an intense feeling that the house is going to burn down. We have to have an escape plan, bags packed, ready to go. Like, I can't imagine just that feeling alone would be like a little frightening.
Mm-hmm.
And then to feel so vindicated after a week later.
I mean, it sucks.
After you moved out.
It sucks that it happened, but I'd be like, ha!
Yeah.
I told you.
I have been warning you.
That would be...
Thanks, Grandpa.
That would be scary.
My family has since reminded me of a story about my grandparents' house for the second story as well, if you want to hear, and have a laugh to end on a lighthearted note. My Nana and Grandpa had actually decided they were going to swap houses with another couple at one point. Somehow, the woman ended up passing away days before signing the paperwork. My grandpa was in the downstairs bathroom that was right beside the stairs I mentioned, being a hot spot doing his business, and suddenly felt the urge to look into the mirror. He saw that woman standing behind him, staring back at him as if she were mourning the house before she moved on. She vanished as soon as he made eye contact. He loved to tell this story and end it with, "She scared the pee right out of me."
Oh my
Thanks
God.
for reading. I love the pod and appreciate you both for always taking the time to chat. Andrea. I think it's wild that, like, could you imagine me and you were just like, let's just switch.
Dude, I was thinking the same thing. Like, how does that work? You're just like, let's sign everything over, just a clean
I guess if you have
switch.
like equal value in your home.
It's like, whatever, you can take it. That's pretty cool.
So our next story comes from Bella, and big trigger warning for animal cruelty.
Oh no.
I don't remember this story, but I put that in there. So
Okay.
hello, fellow ghosties. My name is Bella. I am from New Mexico. Hope this isn't too long, but I love your show and I am currently binge watching every episode. You guys remind me so much of me and my 2 younger sisters, it's crazy to me. But I want to share a few experiences. I would say most of my family has encountered the other side in some way or another, and we are all very spiritually in tune. I love when people say that we remind them of their sisters.
I know.
And it's so cute. Like, that's exactly what I want. I want like all of us to be siblings, you know, like just chatting.
Me too, but it also makes me feel less strange. Because sometimes I think that me and you are very weird.
Like our relationship or just in general our personalities?
Yeah, like the things we say and do, and we're like always cutting up, and I'm like, do other people act like this?
Yes.
Because whenever I talk to most people in the world, I'm like, oh yeah, like me and my siblings are so close, like blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, what are you doing this weekend? I was like, I'll probably see my sister. And they're like, oh, are you going to go like far away? And I'm like, no, she's like right down the road.
I see her most days.
Yeah, but I don't know. So sometimes I feel like, are we too close?
Never.
I don't think so.
No.
Because there's those people that are like, I haven't spoken to my sister in 15 years.
I
And
could
I'm like,
never understand that. I
unless
couldn't
it
imagine.
was,
Something major happening. Yeah.
but like just being like our grandparents. Like I ask our grandpa, I'm like, oh, what about your brother? And he's like, I think he lives over here. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you mean? That's so crazy to me.
So I will start with this. My family and I moved into a new house. We had a weird neighbor who we were pretty sure practiced some form of dark witchcraft. This same neighbor had placed a dead cat in our yard with a cryptic note, just letting us know it was him. The cat had been mutilated and then placed in the yard on the edge of our patio. My older brother, who was living with us at the time, was also getting really interested in tarot, speaking with the dead, Ouija boards, and games like the hide-and-seek clap game. My brother was like 19-ish, and I was 12-ish. My brother loved to be a skeptic and prove things wrong. Let me tell you, he is now a believer of the paranormal. He does not talk about his experiences in this house. He played games and did things to poke the other side, and once he had a bad experience, and he said he will never mess with anything to do with the paranormal ever again. I can't imagine the combination between someone actively messing with you and you know that they're like poking around in the dark side,
Dude.
and your brother in the room next to you is also kind of like not necessarily in the dark side, but still playing around. So it's just like a cacophony of
terror.
Yeah.
Dude, the way I would have ruined my neighbor's life,
For doing that?
he would fear me. He
Yeah.
would fear me forever.
Yeah.
And even if he moved, I'd follow him.
Horrible.
I am so enraged.
Police. FBI.
The Facebook cat people army, everyone.
I'd trust them.
Everyone. We would be on shift with pitchforks and knives and outside his windows at all hours.
Pitchforks. I just thought about
He would never sleep.
the Simpsons movie where the whole mob they're at this house and they turn and it's over there and they're like,
Yeah. Yeah. We would be, that man would never know peace again.
In this same house, lots of weird things would happen, like doors being open for no reason after having been closed, or hearing someone get home and then you being home alone, or even knocking on the doors. There was also this smell in my sister's closet. It smelled of rot. If you have ever smelled a dead animal, that is what it was similar to. In my sister's room, they shared a bunk bed. One wall was a huge closet with big sliding doors, and then there was a storage space on top of the closet that also had wooden sliding doors. We would always close those doors, but no matter what, they were always open. It always felt like someone was watching you from up there to me. One night, my dad heard my little sister struggling in her room, and when he went in there, he felt like something was smothering her in her sleep. When he went to go to her and lift her up, she shot up from her sleep, gasping for air, screaming and crying that she could not breathe. My older brother was asleep in his room one night, and he said he heard a bang, and when he looked up, he saw a figure holding what seemed like an extremely bright flashlight, pointing it at him from his door, and then it closed quickly. He ran so fast to my dad's room because he thought someone broke in. No one had.
Is it the neighbor bringing these things upon them, or is it the brother
dabbling.
messing with things. I need to know more.
Especially they said that their brother was a skeptic and like trying to prove it wrong. So it's probably more so the like, hey, give me a sign, you're a coward kind of thing.
Yes.
Like taunting.
Provoking it.
Like Zach Baggins style.
Oh, God.
One night, my parents were asleep in their room and my mom heard someone call out, "Mom!" And it sounded like it was coming from the room at the very opposite end of the hallway. My mom checked and nothing. All of us kids were asleep. The next morning, our landlord called us and let us know his wife had passed away the night before. We also learned that her mother had died in the house before, and so we kind of think it was the voice of our landlord coming to get her mom.
Aww.
A lot of the activity stopped after this happened, but we also moved out about a month after this into a new haunted house.
That's gonna make me cry.
Like her mom just waited there for her.
She came back and was like, all right, Mom. Oh,
Mom.
God.
I'm here for you.
Okay. We have got to move on. I told myself I'm not crying on the pod anymore.
This haunted house was full of simple experiences, like seeing things out of the corner of your eye or having that feeling when you know you are not alone. I also got into a lot of trouble while living here. At the time, I was about 16, and I don't want to blame my decisions on something else, but I do feel like I was in some sort of haze while I lived there. After only a couple of years, we moved out. This next story happened when I was 21. I had just had my son, and I was living with my little sister in a 5-bedroom apartment with my son and her daughter. I watched them during the day while she worked, and I spent most of my time at home. One day, I was putting away some blankets in the hall closet, and I noticed that same dead animal smell. I was alarmed, but nothing was really happening until Christmas time came around, and my son got a bunch of toys. They were taking up his whole room, and I had that room set up just as a playroom. I started to feel like there was a little boy in that room. I could feel it so strongly, it would cause me to get very sad at times. I just knew. Then I started having some pretty creepy things happen. Every single night, I would hear someone in the room playing with my son's toys. He had this ball that just vibrated and rolled all crazy around the floor when you rolled it. And he also had this creepy little dog that would say, "Hello, Demetrius, let's play," when you hugged it or pressed a button on its ear. Demetrius is my son's name, so that's even creepier for me. But it would also go off on its own all the time in the middle of the night. One night, I heard the toys going off, and I was very scared, so I called my sister to come into my room. I heard her walking down the hall to my room, and right as she opened the door, we could hear a voice different from the toy say, "Hi, Demetrius, let's play." It creeped us out so bad. We slept together in my bed that night with our babies. I had my dad come do a blessing on my apartment, and after that, I did not have any more experiences.
Oh my God.
That just made me have chills all through my body.
They did the only right thing is everybody sleeps
Cuddle
in
up
one bed.
in one bed. Okay, last story. My aunt has 2 sons, 17 and 15, and they were moving into this new house. My aunt had the usual haunting experiences, like weird noises and such, but her son would hear noises from the closet in his room, and he would feel a presence in that closet. He would always try to keep the closet door closed, but it would always open back up again. One night, he was sleeping and he woke up to the closet door opening, and all of the clothes and shoes in his closet started flying off the shelf at him. He was so scared but felt frozen. He said he was going to scream, but all of a sudden, a woman who he had thought was his mom hugged him and just held him all night long. The next morning, he asked my aunt about it, and she said she had no idea what he was talking about, and it was not her who got into bed with him. My cousin went to school the same day after the crazy night, and a kid who he is not friends with and only knows from passing came up to him at lunch and said, "Hey, Devin, he told me you moved into my old house and that you were sleeping in my room." This kid just started laughing and walked away. My cousin asked around, and supposedly the kid is known to do evil and dark witchcraft. He was terrified. There was no way for that kid to know he had moved at all, but how would he know which room was his? Soon after this, my aunt was doing her hair, and she decided to listen to a gospel podcast while she was getting ready. Her wine glass burst, and all of her necklaces and crosses on the wall started swinging back and forth. I have a video of this. The video just shows the necklaces as the wine was unexpected. But anyways, they had some missionaries come to the house and do a blessing on the house. After this, all activity ceased. He told me you're in my room? My old room? He?
Who is he? Who is he? That neighbor?
Oh my god!
From the other story?
I hope not.
What? I'm just imagining those kids that like you knew in your school, but just kind of like, oh, you saw them in the hallway.
And they kept to themselves mostly.
If they walked up to me and said that,
and then they were just like,
I would like Charlie
walking
Brown
away.
cry. Like, like what do you mean? Oh my god. No. Okay. Thank you for the horror of that one.
Our next story comes from Tamera. Hello, I've only recently started listening to your podcast, but I absolutely love it. I have you in the background when I do things throughout the day and night. So I will break this down based on places I have lived. That way it will be organized and you can choose what to read. I chose all of them, just so you know. Childhood home. Lived here from 96 or 97 to 2014. We moved into this house when I was around a year old, so I'm not 100% sure when we moved in. This house has so much, so this will be long. Sorry for that. It was a 2-story home with an unfinished basement that used to be the home and business of the town doctor in the early 1900s. It is a super small town located next to a slightly bigger one. My 2 brothers and I slept in our own rooms upstairs, and my parents had slept downstairs. I frequently felt like I was being watched and swear I'd see various dolls move their heads and eyes to watch me, both my dolls and my mom's Native American dolls in the living room. One of the most common occurrences was hearing a voice that sounded like my mom yelling for me and my brothers. I would ask her if she had called for me, and she'd say no. It also would happen when she wasn't home, and I'd hear my name and my brother's names at different times. My mom told me when we first moved in, I was in my own room that was above their bedroom, and I screamed, "Monster!" over and over until she came in to check on me, and I was super upset and scared. I was between 1 and 2 years old. When I was really young, I'd see a little boy, probably 6 or 7 years old, a lot. Whenever I'd go upstairs alone, he'd chase me in the hall, which was just a banister next to the stairs, and pull my hair, especially if it was in a ponytail or braid. I hated wearing my hair up for years because of this, and wouldn't let my mom put it up.
I hate that because your daughter does not like to have her hair up.
I was just thinking the same thing, but I don't
think that's the reason, but still it's scary.
We had who we believed to be a nurse that would check on us all while we slept. My mom saw her many times doing what looked like rounds and checking on us 3 kids. I'd seen her once downstairs looking outside. She was dressed in all white, had long brunette hair, and was slim. She didn't scare me, which was shocking because I'd been pretty traumatized by most paranormal things by this point. One time, my brothers and I all camped out in one of their rooms. I was sleeping in a little kid tent and peeked out to check on them because I heard footsteps. I saw a hunched over shadow man in a trench coat and top hat, carrying a briefcase, walking towards my oldest brother sleeping in the bed. He stood over my brother for a while and then just disappeared. I feel like that was like the doctor.
I was about to say, is that the doctor? And also the nurse?
I love that
Fine.
she's just doing her rounds.
Fine. You know what? Cool. As long as you're not touching me or doing anything weird, yeah, do your rounds.
She's making sure everyone's okay.
That's fine.
Feeling healthy.
Doctor, I don't know.
Hunched over in a trench coat just seems fishy to me. One woman I believe was either stuck or had left an impression of different scenes of her life. There were 3 I'd seen, and they would repeat. The first time I saw her, she was at the top of the stairs washing laundry in a wooden basin and one of those old laundry scrub boards. Warning real quick for murder-suicide for the next 10 seconds, so just do one little skip. The second time, she had the basin filled with water and was drowning her baby. And the third time, she'd hung herself from the ceiling by the light. This one has messed with me for years and still gets to me. I hate that that vision was there. And I hope that it was not an actual impression.
Not real. Just like something trying to scare the person
I agree.
Seeing it.
My middle brother's ex-girlfriend and I were talking once, and she was looking in the fridge for something to eat. I asked her a question, and she shut the fridge door, and her eyes were completely black. And they hadn't been moments before that.
What?
I don't like that at all.
And that's all they said about the
girlfriend? That's
girlfriend?
all that they said about the girlfriend, yeah.
Okay.
Just like a wash of, I don't know, darkness behind their eyes. I used to hear people talking and trying to get me to engage while I was laying in bed, with my head covered with my blankets. One man was very insistent and laughed when I started crying.
This is very dark.
I hate all of this. The not scary story. I would see my grandma years after she died, and it was always comforting. That's kind of sweet, like being able to see your loved one.
Yeah, and especially if it's comforting, you know, it's just actually
your loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My parents offered to sell the house to my husband and I years ago, but we both turned it down because of the experiences we've had there. I still have nightmares of the house and stuff happening there. My parents sold it when they divorced, and I am so worried about the new owners. So many families have been broken up within that house. It has such a dark energy.
Families are just breaking apart.
Worked on their families.
Yeah, something's dark in there. But how do you go about warning the next family, being like, beware your home? Like, you can't really do that.
I know. You know what? I would love for a real estate agent to be like, previous owner, I don't know what you think about hauntings, ghosts, whatever, if you believe or not. Just wanted to let you know, previous owner said, majorly haunted. Do with that what you will. You know?
But for some people, I don't know. Like, the real estate agent probably wouldn't say that because they're trying to sell the house. But if you
Yeah,
move...
but still, I feel like you should warn people, you know?
Yes, but not
Especially
everyone
with
believes...
some of this dark stuff.
Not everyone believes it. So if you would tell some people, they'd be like, okay,
Okay.
you weirdo. Yeah.
Yeah.
But imagine you're in a house and someone comes up to you and is like, hey, by the way, I used to live here. Very haunted. What would you do? And you just bought
as
the
a
house.
believer myself,
You're like moving boxes in.
call the priest next. I don't know.
What do you do?
I don't know. I didn't even think to ask my real estate agent
I think
if it
you're
was
good.
haunted. My husband has had nightmares about things in the garage of that house, usually dark figures that were aggressive. I've had dreams of not being able to get the doors to shut when there was danger coming.
Oh, that's a horrible dream.
That foreboding feeling.
That's a horrible dream.
My nephew saw a floating head when he was in the shower once there. We've had a story about a floating head, like watching them
few.
sleep. And I'm not a fan, I have to say.
I just can't even picture it. I'm just envisioning the shrunken head guy on Harry Potter.
I was picturing Haunted Mansion, like the singing statue heads.
Yeah.
All right, the next house. Mobile home, lived here from 2014 to 2019. This is where my now husband and I moved out together when I was 19 and he was 20. One day, my husband and I were taking a nap during the day when he was working a 12-hour night shift. I had been sleeping and suddenly I heard, "Wake up, it's time to go. We need to go now," in a woman's voice, but it was just the two of us there. I started to get up and out of bed, ready to go with them, when I luckily snapped out of it. I can't imagine mid-stride and realizing nobody else is here but me.
The immediate response is insane.
Another time, when we had been taking a nap, my husband said he felt someone slide their hand into his, so he squeezed it, thinking it was me, and they squeezed back. He asked me about it later, and I told him that it wasn't me. I had been facing the other way and hadn't held his hand. I don't like it. These are all just like literally little just nuggets of terror.
Of a horror movie just pieced together.
Yes. I saw a woman that had hung herself in the small hallway that led to the back door and was where our washer and dryer were. I also had to walk by it to get to our bedroom. I hate that you're seeing all of these horrible things.
Horrible images. What
I don't like it
is
at all.
going on?
Now to the current house, 2019 to present. This is where I currently live with my husband, toddler, and newborn. The day we brought our son home in 2022, I saw my great uncle walk from our dining room and down the hall where the bedrooms are. Overall, I felt negative energy on and off, and the previous owner had put up a lot for protection. Prayers are painted on the walls, as well as religious quotes and iconography. She left a giant angel magnet on the fridge. There is also something made of iron stuck into the ground on all four corners of the property, which is believed to ward off demons, as well as fae and other creatures.
What?
We've been told she was bipolar and schizophrenic by neighbors, but we never met her and don't know for sure. She was older and her kids had her move closer to them, I believe, but she used to drive semi-trucks, so it's hard to tell what was true.
Sounds like a cool woman to meet, first of all. But was she actually ill and the neighbors were seeing that? Or was she experiencing these horrible things
And the neighbors are like, she's just,
wow, she's crazy.
She's got a little something, yeah. I don't know. I've never heard of the iron things stuck in the four corners of the house. I find that interesting.
I do too. I was thinking like vampires or something, but I've never heard about like
Yeah.
demons.
No, I don't know. I hope it helped.
Me too.
I heard growling coming from our garage at night when I was walking my dogs. My niece saw a tall shadow figure in a bedroom standing and watching her when she was going to bed. I've seen various shadow figures of all sizes in and outside of the house. My husband has encountered what we believed to be a little girl in our backyard. She had talked to him multiple times saying hello and other phrases. I've seen what we call my husband's banshee. It's a dark-haired girl who wears all white that has followed my husband since he was a kid. He has seen her throughout his life, but the last few years she has appeared in our garage to me, as well as a not quite right copy of her, and she shook her head no at me once. The other time was when my husband was leaving for work. I saw her walk across our bedroom and phase through the wall, and it was in the direction my husband drives to work.
No, I would freak out.
Knowing that she's heading in that direction too. When my son was a baby, he slept in a bassinet next to our bed, but I frequently held him to breastfeed him at night. Once I was feeding him in the night and suddenly couldn't move and saw a long, clawed hand reaching towards us from the side of our bed. Eventually I could move and kick at it and it disappeared.
This is too much.
My son loves helium balloons from the store, and they will move all around our house, even with windows and doors shut, across rooms and even into different rooms altogether. I'm not sure why or what causes it, but I never notice a breeze and have watched them moving all by themselves multiple times. My husband heard voices arguing next to him once when he was alone in bed. He couldn't move or open his eyes. One set of voices said, "Let us have him. He's going to go to heaven anyways." and a small girl's voice kept telling them no, and they couldn't take him, that it wasn't his time.
I think it would scare me
let us
just
have
out
him.
of my skin.
Have him how? Like his body?
I was just thinking he was gonna die, but like, no, they're like, let us have his vessel. Let's get rid of his
skin
soul.
suit, as you've called it before. My husband and I have both seen a figure that looks like our son. I thought I saw him climb up the bed next to me, but he was actually at the bottom of the bed. And my husband thought he saw him go into a bedroom, and he wasn't in the bedroom when he checked. He'd been sitting in the living room the whole time. I saw my uncle's mom, who I never met, walking down the stairs at our old house. She gave me a huge smile as she walked by me and went out the door. They showed me a picture after I described her, and it was a match. I used to have nightmares about the basement at their house. There was something really dark down there in the dreams. I saw a woman in a white wedding dress that was super dirty running across the road when I was a passenger as a kid. I hate that so much. That just gave me chills on one side of my body.
Oh God, I just got a very scary vision that I don't want to talk about, but I feel like I need to.
Tell me.
Like, imagine you're driving home late at night.
My hair just tickled my hand and it scared me.
And like, something runs across the road and they stop and look at you. What do you do?
No.
Do you hit them?
No. I don't know.
What do you do?
Reverse.
Did you keep going? Your first initial reaction would be to slam on the brakes.
I don't know. And then I'm picturing, whose story was it? It was from the last episode where the person jumped out on the road and they ran at them.
I'm like working myself up over here.
I'm like, I have like this whole horror movie, like,
do too.
Like Blumhouse is in my mind right now.
Do too. And I don't like it.
I'm about to cry.
I'm scared.
I feel like I'm getting a migraine.
I'm scared.
Once when I was driving home after visiting my parents, I was at a 4-way stop and it was late at night. Suddenly, the sky turned red, the trees looked burnt and on fire, and the road was covered in blood. Then, suddenly, it all went away. This was the same spot I'd seen the woman in the white dress as a kid, but this happened when I was an adult, like 19 or 20 years old.
What happened there to cause this?
I don't like the vision. Was it a premonition of the future? Is it like looking into the past somehow? Was there a fire that came through, at some point in the past?
I hope
Is it
it's
related
not.
to the woman? These are the stories I can remember right off the top of my head. If I think of more, I'll send them in. And I'll also ask a few friends and family for more stories when I see them and try and write them in as well. These are just the key ones I can remember right now. If you have any questions, let me know. Best, Tamera.
There's more?
I know, that's exactly what I was thinking when I first read it. I was like, dude, that's a lifetime. That's more than enough.
I mean,
for multiple people.
Yeah, let us know, but my God.
That's crazy. And I'm really sorry that you've endured so much. Our next story comes from Parker, which I like your name, Parker. Hey guys, my name is Parker and I'm a new viewer to the channel and I love your vibe so much and decided I needed to share some of my experiences. The paranormal has been a big part of my life and family's for a long time. From me having dreams describing in detail at age 5 my grandfather's death and how he looked despite never knowing how he died and what he looked like, to my mother being chased by a demonic entity in the dark. I will try to get that story for you later.
Oh my God. Okay.
The story I'm telling today is how I think my workplace is haunted. My family owns an accounting business, and one night I stayed as my mom and aunt went to grab office supplies. At the time, we had a deadline to make and had to stay much later than usual. I was in the middle of a book and tend to pace as I read. I was pacing down the hallway for probably hours at this point, and as soon as my mom and aunt left to go get supplies, I made my last few rounds and headed down to the very last room to take a break. Halfway down, I noticed another pair of footsteps following my own. The floor at work is very squeaky, and I was doing this for hours and know what my shoes sounded like, and it was definitely not me. So I quickly sped up and made it to the last room. I closed the door and locked it as I waited. I heard the same footsteps that were following my own continue coming closer till I saw a shadow under my door. It was there, listening and watching, and went away as soon as my mom came back. I asked if it was her, knowing it was impossible, and she said no.
Okay, it like chased you / followed you into this room and then stood outside waiting? Was it waiting for you to come out? Was it... Oh, I just scared myself.
I'm getting oddly terrified this episode.
Yeah, this is not good. I'm like really sweating over here.
Me too. This incident was a few years ago, but lately this year it started up again. Sometimes I swear I feel like I'm being watched, and sometimes I hear a man singing and whistling coming from a storage room even when I'm all alone during the mornings. My mother has also heard noises as she once thought someone broke into the unit next to us that we also own. She heard someone pulling a chair out, and when she went to look, there was nothing. To be fair, it's probably my aunt's BF, as we also keep his ashes there, but I still have no explanation for the threatening footsteps that followed me that night long ago. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll try to get my mom's story soon, Parker.
I'm just hoping you and your aunt's boyfriend had some kind of, joking relationship to where he just was like trying to scare you.
Like mess with you?
In like a funny way.
I hope so, but I don't like that they got the like vibe of like threatening. Our next story comes from Liza. My name is Liza. While I haven't had too many things happen to me that were seemingly paranormal, this one specific experience sticks with me around a decade later. This happened when I was a child, probably 10 or 11 years old. I'm 20 now. At the elementary school I went to, the 5th graders got to go on an end-of-year retreat to this place up in the Colorado Rockies that was surrounded by the forest. Just my luck, of course, when being assigned cabins to stay in, I got stuck in the really old rustic one, while every other group got put in a more recently built one.
Oh, I'd be so mad.
I know. You like see this one dumpy one and the rest are like lavish and nice.
And that would happen to me.
Yeah.
100% that would happen to me.
Yeah, that's our family curse. It looked like the stereotypical old log cabin you may be thinking of now. There are pictures somewhere, but I'm unable to find them at the moment. There were 2 rooms with a couple of creaky bunk beds and 1 bathroom. I believe around 6 of us were staying there. Of course, with this sort of thing, obviously scary stories do get passed around, and I get paranoid about things like ghosts and cryptids and whatnot very easily, as interesting as it all is. So I was already a little bit spooked. That night, I was the only one unable to sleep. Late at night, I'd assume after 1 or maybe a little later, I heard 3 knocks at the door, but I couldn't see anybody through the little window on the door. Around 10 or so minutes later, I heard the same thing. This repeated every 10-ish minutes until morning. I didn't sleep the whole night. The next night, I took a whole bunch of melatonin and had an incredibly strange and convoluted nightmare, which I still remember like one still image from. This is weird to me because normally I don't have nightmares all that often, including when I take melatonin. Years later, probably around 15 to 16, my friend at the time, who had a truly incredible connection to the unexplainable in the sense that things would just happen to her very frequently, she had a spirit attached to her for a while that may have been a little bit evil, but I'm not fully sure, lol, told me about a dream she had about the one weird night. It was like the exact setting and everything, and based on said dream, she said that if I had opened that door, something bad would have happened to me. She did not go to the same elementary school and never went to the place where the retreat was. That probably isn't the only haunted place I've stayed. This one house in Cape Cod that I stayed in with my family felt really off, and I felt really compelled to cover up the mirror in my room and be hyper aware of my surroundings. It just had a genuinely unsafe feeling. Nothing has really happened to me anywhere else though, at least that I'm aware of. The friend knowing the description of the cabin that you're staying in and everything about it just freaks me out.
I was going to say, witch! About with a friend.
Such a good video.
That's like my favorite TikTok, but
It's a good one.
that we have a lot of kids being crazy in this one.
Creepy kids.
Like knowing things. Is that the theme?
I guess so.
The kids know.
Our next story comes from Kelsey. Hey guys, greetings from Scotland. I love your podcast and decided to send a few stories of mine over. I never realized how many weird things have happened to me until I started thinking about it. Exactly what you
Agreed.
said.
And I love that we have so many international people listening.
I know. It's so cool. I've had a few things happen since I was around 13. My entire family is pretty spiritual. My mom used to be a medium and has cleansed every house we've moved into. I've lived here for 9 years, and it's been fine until the last few months or so. First thing that comes to mind, about a year ago, I was fast asleep in my bed until I was woken up at 4 a.m. by my dog barking like crazy. Like she was barking at something or someone. She stayed in the kitchen, and she was too small to see through the window, so it couldn't be birds or cats. I swear it scared me so bad. This was around the same time that whenever I was about to fall asleep, I would hear a man screaming in my ear. It was so loud I would jump out of my skin. This happened every night before I fell asleep for about a week, and then it just stopped.
That's like people that have like exploding head syndrome, but it's exploding man screaming syndrome.
I don't know. I don't like that. I had nothing else happen until this week. The morning before this happened, I woke up for work and heard my mom say something, but it was so breathy I couldn't make out what she had said. She also wasn't awake at that time. Later on that day, me and my mom had just gotten back from getting our weekly shopping. We have a gas meter outside, so I went out to put it on, and when I came back, the door was locked. I knocked on the door pissed off because I thought my sister locked me out. My mom and sister came to the door confused. They were both upstairs the entire time from when I left until I got back in. This all happened within a matter of minutes. The key was fully turned in the door. The house doesn't really feel right anymore. These are only a few from recently. Hope you enjoyed though. Kelsey.
No, I don't like that they're so recent.
Me neither.
This whole time we've been talking about things that happened to people like years ago.
When they first said that they got locked out, like I thought maybe like you do, like you accidentally, because it's a habit where you just like click and walk out, or maybe they're like, it's a door that has like an easily like, I don't know, it locks on its own kind of thing. But to have the key twisted all the way around to turn the lock really unsettles me.
Me too.
Our next story comes from Emily. Hi, my name is Emily, and I am a huge fan of the pod. First off, thank you for making my workday so much more fun. I decided to write in and tell my own haunted house story, but for this one, you'll need a little bit of context. I also apologize with how long this is. So much happened, and I am a certified yapper. Growing up, I was well aware of the paranormal and the supernatural world. My mom and I are both sensitive people to the other side. We've also had several people who are like, me and my whole family are like very sensitive.
I know. I wonder what listener stories episode is going to break the cycle of them being weirdly the same.
Like very connected.
It's like kind of creeps me out. I'm not going to lie.
It does. So my mom and I are both sensitive people to the other side. I have loads of stories of seeing shadow people or premonitions in dreams, but this house by far is the most active place I've ever been. My grandparents on my dad's side lived in this converted mobile home in upstate New York. It's an old house and has been through one owner that was rumored to have never left. Mr. King was the first owner and is rumored to be buried on the property, but we never found anything. However, when my grandparents were alive, they would always joke that whenever the back door would randomly open, it was Mr. King visiting. Fast forward 2 years later when sadly, my grandpa, Pop, passed due to ALS. I'm so sorry. It was very traumatic for the whole family, but weird things started happening. The first thing I noticed was a shadow man. When we hosted his remembrance party, I was walking down the stairs at my family home. I saw someone leaning over the upstairs banister and I froze. I backtracked to see if it was someone, but no one was there. Things only got weirder. Whenever we stayed upstate, we began to smell oil or WD-40. My pop was a handyman, but the smell would travel around the house as if he was walking around. Now, the big thing. My parents one day were fighting. I'm not sure about what, but I was on the back porch to get a can of soda. From the back screened-in porch, you can see right into the living room, and above the TV were these 2 big speakers on the wall. I go to stand up when I see the speaker fly off of the wall towards my mom. She curses, and my dad is there staring in shock. We all stood there for a moment because how do you explain that? It didn't just drop down, but flew off with force. Needless to say, that's the only time something like this has happened. I think that my pop was pissed off that my parents were fighting, and after that, both my mom and dad had a stern talking to my pop about pulling that crap. Anyways, that's not the only thing that happened up there, as I think multiple ghosts now haunt this home. But this is getting long enough as is. Sorry this is so long, I love the pod so much. Hope you guys have a great day, and many blessings to you.
Honestly, I like it.
I'm not mad about it.
I like it.
He was just like, shut up.
Like, stop.
No fighting.
Hey, okay. And guess what? I bet they stopped. Immediately.
It did. It got them to stop.
Because I would.
All right. Our last story of the day is from Elizabeth. Hi, my name is Elizabeth. I'm a new listener and absolutely love these videos. I wanted to share a few things I experienced. We moved into a condo in 2017 and stayed until 2023, and quite a few things happened to me there. One of the creepiest things I experienced was when I would feel a hand on my head whenever I was in bed going to sleep. It always scared me, no matter how many times it happened. Yeah? No thanks. It freaks me out just to hear about it.
Know.
I have a cat, so I had to keep my door cracked at night so he wouldn't scratch. One day in the middle of the night, he was meowing. I got up to get him. When I opened the door to grab him, I heard 3 taps on something close to me. I closed my door and turned the lights on. My mom and I were scared of my sister's room. She had 4 mirrors facing each other, 2 on one side and 2 on the other side of her room. I couldn't stay in her room for long if I was alone.
Okay, Kayla.
It's literally like creating a portal of some kind.
Like several.
Let's skip ahead to where I'm living now. Only my mom, me, and my cat are in this house. For reference, I'm 5'2", so my feet don't reach the end of my bed unless I move down a bit. When I was going to sleep, I moved down on my bed and it felt like someone was gripping the edge of my bed near my feet. I was too scared to look over the edge.
Don't look at me. Don't say anything.
Just picture like the image of like these creepy clawed hands. Like the story earlier with they were breastfeeding their baby and the clawed hand came out, but like they're on the edge of the bed.
I'm like gagging. Yeah.
Okay, last one. This is something my mom and I both experienced. I was already awake in the middle of the night because my cat was meowing. I heard what I thought was my mom say, Roo, my cat's name, in a sing-song voice. I asked my mom the next morning if she called him. She said no, and that she heard it too.
Oh my God.
Nothing has happened since. I have many more experiences, but didn't want to put too many. And there you have it, folks. Natalie's greatest fear from junior high.
I can't imagine.
Yuck.
Sometimes I get creeped out calling my dogs names because I'm just waiting to hear the echo back.
Your own voice. I'm honestly frightened. Like, there are some episodes that scare me, but I'm able to like live my life. I don't know, maybe it's the mood I'm in or things that are going on right now. I don't know what it is, a combination of many things, but this one,
I'm kind of scared.
Yeah.
It's not good. And I like painted a lot of scary images in my head by myself that I
no,
didn't
me
need
too.
to.
Me too.
It
It was
was
like a horror movie going on in my brain.
Unnecessary, but this was a good one, I think. But we're getting close to spooky season.
Oh my gosh, I'm really excited.
2 more months until September, and that's when everything gets
Spooky a little bit.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
another word? I use spooky a lot, but
I
it just like
know.
encapsulates what I'm meaning and feeling, you know?
I agree.
So in the comments, leave your best what's the word?
Synonym.
Leave your best synonym for the word spooky if you're still here.
But I mean, obviously, I know other words for scary, but I just spooky makes it not
There's a feeling to it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
like
more
those
the
aesthetic videos
The
on
connotation to spooky
Instagram. Yeah.
versus the actual definition
Oh, I can't wait.
for spooky season.
Yeah.
I told you I wanted to have like a summerween party just because I'm feeling the vibes.
I'm getting excited. And it's going to feel all like, oh, okay. I'm like feeling very like
pumping you up. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if you're still here, thank you so much. Like this video if you like it, share it with your friends if you feel compelled to do so, and subscribe for more. Thank you to everyone who sent in your stories today. They obviously really got us. And if you have a story you'd like to share with us, you can email it to us at ghosteaspod@gmail.com. It's also written down in the description. You can follow us on Instagram. That's at ghosteaspod. And if you really need more from us, we also have a Patreon now. So you can go on over to Patreon. That'll be linked in our description as well. We've got an extra episode for the month. We'll have an extra episode next week. We post it every first Tuesday of the month, I think is our plan. And we have all of our some of our little chats before we start, our little loose leaves.
Yeah. Some are fun. Some are deep.
Our brouhaha.
And I hate that people supported that so much. But if you're still here, leave a pumpkin.
Yeah,
like
ready
a
for spooky
jack-o'-lantern.
season.
I'm excited. Getting there. Next month will be Christmas in July, so we'll leave Christmas emojis.
Yes, that's true.
But
it's a big part of our family.
It really is.
Anyway, see ya on Monday.
Goodbye.